Members, how's it going? The Goat House is back. On the channel, I went through all my final predictions, division by division, through the playoffs to the Super Bowl. Now you guys get to see where I started, how I got there, each team's record. Some minor changes, actually, since those videos. Just minor changes. But again, we'll go through all these and go through the playoffs, Super Bowl again. But I did not show records in those videos, so you kind of get to see what I went through here. This was kind of tough to do, but yeah, let's just take a look. I know some of your favorite teams, so from the YouTube memberships. I know some Patreon people are going to be seeing this, but I know where we're going to start. Let's just start with the division winners first. Steelers actually had winning division, 12 wins, and you kind of can see why. You know, I had them going on a streak a bit. I think this really favors them down the stretch. You see them win a bunch of games in a row. They beat the Bengals here. The Bengals, I think are much better earlier in the season. Home against the Browns, I expect them to win that. Then the Cardinals, easy matchup. Bills is definitely not easy, especially with that defense. But late in the season, at home, the Jets, the Ravens, I actually had them splitting but winning away games. I like them down the stretch. That's what gives them 12 wins there. That's how the Steelers got there, 7-1 home for them. And you look at and I had the Ravens in the playoffs too. The Browns just missing. The Browns, tough schedule. One that was kind of on the fringe on was this Niners game. I think that's one the Niners can pull off. It's a Monday night game. That's kind of the difference. So that was kind of my thinking on the Browns, but they're very close there. So you see what happens. We can play this game too. See what happens when I just switch one game. The Browns go in, the Ravens go out. So very interesting. The AFC South, this is where I had some changes. So since the video, the Texans getting Tunsil, I think they could be better, but I heard this is the way I had it before, and there was really no changes I can make here. I didn't feel confident about any of these changes, so I kept that. But I actually knocked the Jags down. I removed a win from them, so they ended up going to the bottom, three-way tie there. That's just how I went through this multiple different times. It was always AFC South teams in the area of 7-9, 8-8, or 9-7. So that's what it ended up being. If we see how the Titans do, I'm worried about the first game without Taylor Lewan, that Falcons game, really. I think they'll be able to. They seem to be fine against the Jags all the time, so I want them 2-0 against the Jags. The Broncos pass rush scares me a little bit in Denver. I did have them beating the Chargers. That was kind of a gut feeling. Titans at home. I like the matchup for them during the regular season, that is. Just kind of a feeling. When I have a gut feeling on a lot of these, I actually could see them beating the Saints, but then I also can see them losing to games you expect them to win. So Titans are kind of a tricky team. Depends on if they're healthy. If you look at the East, the Patriots kind of back and forth in some of these games, 14-2. I mean, they always do. They either go undefeated or lose one game at home. So they had them going 8-0, 2 games losing 2. The Ravens and then the Eagles. And the Ravens can catch them off guard here a little bit. Patriots game planning is very good, but it just seems to be 100% on point in the playoffs rather than the regular season. So, and the Eagles in Philly, I think, can throw them off a little bit. I know there's a Bills fan. I did consider the Bills, but then actually when going in and doing kind of the record, game-by-game record predictions here, and that was actually one I wanted to change too, was the Bills over the Jets, because I did ended up picking the Bills in my in our Pick'ems video. So I'm the first for week 1. So. The Bills, around 9-7 is where I feel comfortable with them. And this game can go either way. So, other games, I actually can see them beating the Eagles. This is a game they can win. Just something, a feeling, another one of those feelings. I like the matchup versus the Broncos. I like the home team in that game. So that's where I had the Bills ending up right there. A lot of these games can go either way, though. But I do have them starting off 3-0 with that. But it's very realistic. Jets, Giants, Bengals. They could come away. They have to come away 2-1 out of that. They have to come away 2-1. That's no doubt. The Dolphins. I mean, this is, I guess, a long shot you can say, but I ended up with them with 1 win, which is crazy. But at the same time, it's really not, because 3 most important things in football today: quarterback, protecting the quarterback, and pass rush. They don't have any of those. I mean, the quarterback might be better if they can protect them. They can't. That is offensive line would be the worst, maybe one of the worst in NFL history. They actually traded for a backup guard on the Vikings, who have a very offensive line that really struggled over the years, and they're trying him at left tackle. That absolutely scares me in Danny Isidora. So that's me rough. It's a good secondary, but I mean you can't cover forever too because that pass rush is pretty rough. Really, the only thing they had left was Cameron Wake, if anything, and he's gone too. So it's a rough one there. Not a big believer in the Jets. They could. It's tough. Yeah, they could win more games than that. That's why it's tough to go team by team for the records. And then Chiefs, I had winning the division. For the Chiefs, I had them losing to the Raiders, and they can lose the game to the Raiders because of it's a shootout. Not a whole bunch of defense in that one. Really could go either way at times in a regular season game. I had them losing to the Chargers and the Patriots. It's hard to, games they can lose. They can lose to the Bears. They can lose to the Packers in a shootout. There's just not too many I really see them. The Ravens game, a good battle last year, so a lot of these could go either way. But that's what I had. So that wraps up the AFC for the most part. Was there any? There was a Raiders fan in there actually. Yeah, the Raiders. I had it going 6-10. I think the offense could be pretty darn good though. So really, they could win more than that. I had them starting 2-0 too. That's interesting. I don't think they start 3-0. This game could definitely go either way. London always seems weird. So I guess even though the Bears should be a much better team, that game can go either way. So I mean, if we start to see like games that can go either way, in my opinion. That really can change things around here, but that's what I had here. I already messed it up. There we go. 6-10 is what I have, but it's tough because I think that I did have them beating the Chargers here. I think the offense can be pretty darn good though. So moving on to the NFC North, we'll start with. I did have the Vikings winning the division by 1 game. I had the Bears beating them twice, both times. I don't like the matchup for the Vikings, but I had them still winning. One game that I was kind of back and forth on that was a decider too was the Broncos. The Broncos might have too much pass rush for the Vikings. Minnesota is home though. The Broncos aren't going to score really. They're not going to score that many points in that game. I trust the Vikings offense a little more, so that was the difference. But if you see that one that I'm back and forth on, that kind of swaps the Bears and the Vikings there because tiebreaker goes to the Bears. I did have the Bears going 2-0 against them. The Eagles one can go either way. Big factor that it's in Minnesota. I did have them beating. I had them losing to the Bears twice, but I haven't beaten the Packers twice. I just don't like the matchup. The Vikings outplayed them twice last year. Not that it really matters all that much, even though they tied one time. So it's I guess the NFC North is a tough schedule. They play the AFC West. It seems like they always lose to the Seahawks. Had that, and looking at the Bears. Bears got some tough home games. They have a big time home field advantage, but it's just. Really, this is one I was kind of back and forth on. You really could go here, and that puts the Bears up to the 2 seed. So that's definitely something interesting. You just change one game in some of these, and it just flips it all together. So, and the Packers just missed out. I think they could go, and I end up switching this too. It doesn't change anything though. It's just pretty much the same thing. Splitting with the Bears. I don't really like the matchup with the Vikings. They definitely can get one on them, though. But I do like their matchups against like the Eagles, the Raiders, and they match up pretty well in those games. Look, if they just finish off the season, they don't really match up too well against the Lions either. But if they just do that, then the 3 NFC North teams are in the playoffs. So 1 game difference. See that? And the Lions at 8-8, pretty good for the last place team. It's just hard to trust them fully, but they do have a very complete, balanced team. I had them starting 2-0, and they beat the Cardinals in a shootout. I like them against the Chargers. I think that's just kind of a gut feeling. It just seems like a Lions move and a Chargers move to me. Then it's tough stretch there. Eagles, Chiefs, Packers, Vikings, very tough. The Raiders, I think, will be a shootout game. I take the Raiders in the shootout. Definitely think they get one on the Bears, and they should have got one on them last year. So it comes out to 8-8. They're heading in the right direction. Saints won their division, 13-3. Had them losing to the Seahawks, Jags, and the Bucks. That seems like they always lose to the Bucks. So the Bucks get one on them there. The Jags was one of those gut feelings again. I think they match up pretty well. I think Nick Foles will be able to move the ball on them while the Jags can slow them down enough. And it's pretty similar with the Seahawks too. And I think Russell Wilson will know how to move the ball on the Saints enough to win the game in Seattle. And the Falcons, which I thought before this I was going to have making the playoffs, but as soon as you get down to this, I don't have them making it. I'm going 9-7, and there's just some that, they can easily win in week 1. They can go 2-0 here. I have them 0-2, so you actually could say that they should come out 1-1 at least in the first 2 games. But then I had them beating the Falcons and the Titans. losing a shootout to the Texans. So I guess there's some that can go either way. So just say if that happens, puts them at 10-6, they're actually still not in. What if it's an NFC opponent? What if they beat the Vikings? They're still not in. So it's a tough one for the Falcons. It's very tough. They're going to need to win one of these, and they can beat the Texans there. Do they have enough pass rush to beat the Texans? That kind of what beats them. Do have them beating the Seahawks. Saints, it seems like they just struggle against the Saints. So it's a tough schedule for the Falcons. Tough go there. They don't get the tiebreakers, it looks like. The Panthers, I like the Panthers if Cam's 100% healthy. I'm just kind of not trusting it, not trusting the offensive line. They do have some holes in the secondary and not the best pass rush. So I had a rough go for the Panthers here. 5-11. Was kind of surprised by that, but at the same time, not really, because I need to be able to trust them to stay healthy. There's a reason they went on that losing streak. So that's a tough go, as you can see there. Buccaneers have holes everywhere, even though they can pull out some sneaky ones. Eagles at 11-5. Kind of go on a streak here. I'm just worried about them being healthy down the stretch. Lost to the Redskins. They split with the Cowboys, but both teams went away. So I think that's, I felt pretty good, confident about this. Maybe they win this one and then 2 seed instead of the 4. So still in, obviously either way. But in the Cowboys, if they lock up Zeke, they can definitely do better than this. But 9-7, I need to see them stay consistent. It seems like every other year with them. And then the Seahawks is a team I'm kind of feeling lately, and that's what how they end up winning the division. Pretty good home run there, and then losing to the Ravens. The Falcons in Atlanta, I think they'll drop one on Monday night against San Francisco. The Eagles gain. The difference is the Eagles are home there, so I think very realistic here. Wouldn't surprise me if I think they can actually lose that Bengals game off the bat, or the Saints game. One of those actually could be a loss. So say they lose to the Saints, that drops them to the same. They win the tiebreaker with the Rams. So it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good for the Seahawks. So that's kind of going through that. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody's teams that they're a fan of here. Any Niner? Yeah, I can't really trust Garoppolo quite yet. I know he's capable, but he needs to show me. But mainly they need to show me they can stay healthy. So I did have them, back and forth, throughout the season here. I think the Cardinals could grab one on them. It's a tough schedule. I mean, some of the teams I have beating them, it's like realistic. The only one that the Niners are for sure better than are the Cardinals. So it's a tough schedule. Tough to see them, getting there. Some people have them making the playoffs, but it'll be a tough run there. So I think we can go on to the playoffs now. And yeah, it's pretty much, if you watch my playoff Super Bowl predictions video, it's pretty much a similar outcome, but there's some different seedings here. I did like the Chargers beating the Titans this time around in the playoffs. I like the Ravens over Steelers because of defense. Steelers, like I said, had a very good, easy schedule. That's not why they're in the playoffs. I think they're a good team, both sides of the ball, very well coached, but easier schedule helps and gets them a good amount of wins in 12. I just trust the Ravens defense in this game. And the Bears-Eagles, so this is what's different. Bears-Eagles, it's hard to trust Trubisky, but it's hard to trust the Eagles stay healthy. I like the Bears get the revenge this year. And Vikings-Rams, I'm sticking with the Rams. Just don't really trust the Vikings a whole bunch in this situation. And then the divisional round, this is kind of where it gets similar to my last time predicting, which I can't make up my damn mind. But that's what happens. Chiefs over Chargers, Patriots over Ravens. Those ones I don't have to think about too much. I like the Seahawks. I like the way they're heading. Actually, now with the Clowney trade, and they got some young talent that I actually really like. So it's just about the receivers. Offensive line, I think, can keep it up. Last year, new head coach, offensive line coach, I should say, got better. Needed receivers. DK Metcalf needs to stay healthy. David Moore needs to get back. But by this time, a little more trust in Russell Wilson at home than Mitchell Trubisky away as well. And I like the Saints easily in that one. And that brings us back to here. This one can go either way. I think the Patriots have the best run game in football this year. I worry about their pass rush. The Chiefs will have the overall best offense, a very good D-line. Seahawks versus Saints. Could go either way. It's tough for me to make that big jump. It's a big jump to go from Seahawks to me on the fringe with them to kind of doubting them at times to make Super Bowl. So I went Saints. And then I had Chiefs over Saints. I just don't know. Oh, there's my bracket. So you guys can do this bracket. If you guys want to, I know some of you guys are in the Discord because you joined through Patreon and you guys send these through all the time. I really enjoy looking at other people's perspectives. So if anybody in the YouTube memberships, if you want to post one or send me a link to one, I think you can copy this link, upload bracket right down here. Then I would like to see your guys' predictions as well. But I think NFC teams, like any of these teams, like elite, that's what I keep going back to. Like the Eagles even if they are 100% healthy, they struggled at times early last year. Like, are they, are they elites? I think they got, I don't want to say holes, but some weak spots still. But again, the health. The Seahawks definitely aren't elites. They got really good units, balance, but do they have enough elite talent? They could get better at receiver and possibly offensive line, even though it played better. The Rams have elite talents. The offensive line I worry about. Defense gives up some yards sometimes. I just don't feel great. Just like when the Rams were in the Super Bowl last year, even though it was kind of close, I just didn't feel great about the Rams. I didn't feel good enough. Like, this is the NFC Super Bowl team. Sad saying that. A little harsh, I guess, but that's how it was, and I feel it's the same way this year. But there should be surprises again. Saints, will they have as much firepower on offense as last year? I don't see an increase. It's either the same or it dips a little bit. That's the problem with the Saints, because Drew Brees ain't getting better. He can stay the same. And they don't have the best receiver unit, in my opinion. And then defensively, the defense could get I would say it can get a little better in terms of like a lockdown defense or stopping the run. Maybe a little more sacks if Davenport stays healthy, but they're not going to get any. They got a lot of lucky turnovers, to be honest, and those aren't going to really repeat. So the defense could be better in terms of like play, tackling, but they won't get as many clutch turnovers. So you take those clutch turnovers away from the Saints, which is part of football, so I'm not saying you should take them away at all, but you take those away, and they might be in trouble. And the Falcons are a really good team. I just worry about their offensive line. The Cowboys are pretty balanced. I just don't trust them deep into the playoffs. The Packers, if Rodgers is – that's the thing. Is Rodgers really the same as he used to be when they won the Super Bowl? I mean, he's not, but he's not far off, so he has to play his best ball. But the Packers, building up that defense. The Bears, I don't know if they have the quarterback for me to be 100% comfortable about them being elite. The Vikings roster looks really good, but Cousins known for not being able to play in big games. The Vikings actually – I think, to me, are known more for that. They've been choking in big games all the time, no matter who's at quarterback or who's where. And the offensive line, a little bit of a question mark, and I guess the health in some spots. So, that's pretty much the NFC for me. For me, the AFC, if Derwin James is there and the Chargers are in playoff time, that makes me feel a lot more comfortable with them. I think they're better than any NFC teams. But really, the Patriots and the Chiefs, no doubt, they're better. Even with the Patriots without the pass rush, if they had a better pass rush, it'd be ridiculous. And they've won Super Bowls with a little better pass rushes. So, yeah, but that's going to do it for this one. Appreciate your guys' supports. Been awesome, really appreciate it. So, thanks again. And that's going to do it for this one. Goodbye.